The expansion into the Nintendo room is going along pretty well. It's almost ready for me to move the collection in. Hey Nintendo fans and collectors, Lithium here from my channel Nintendo Collecting. This expansion is taking me a lot longer than I wanted. There's so many little things that need to happen in order for the thing that I actually want to do to occur. So it's just kind of a little bit slower than what I thought. But some updates. Here is the poker table in this space, and what I've realized, and you probably agree with me, there's just not enough room in here for it. These new chairs, though, I am really excited about. So I bought 8 of these. They were on sale. They were from Walmart. They were roughly almost half price. So I just decided I'm going to get a ton of them. Hopefully, if I do get into maybe podcasting, or obviously I love playing poker and board games with friends as well as Nintendo games. So this will allow us to have more people over. A little bit ridiculous buying 8 of them, but they're really comfortable. They are computer chairs, and the coloring on them is so Nintendo. It's perfect. I love the black with the red and of course the gray. It really does look good. They can go up, they can go down. You can also recline on them a little bit, which is fantastic. They don't go perfectly with this poker table. If I flip over the top of this though, it's just wood, so it probably looks a little bit better that way. The green felt, I might want to swap out for red felt. Fortunately, underneath this, I can also have it like left as green. If I do want to turn this into a Deku tree, then obviously I will want to have the top of it green so it looks like a tree at some times. But look at the table in this space with the 8 chairs. I even only have the 2 chairs now for the 2 TVs that are on a shelf right over here. I used to have something between them, but now I don't. And even though I got rid of that, there's just not enough space. It just doesn't work. So part of the process of building a space like this in the Nintendo room is trying things out and realizing, okay, this is not working. And maybe it works out better in the long run anyways. So the Nintendo NES coffee table, I'm going to probably get rid of this. I tried selling it a few years ago. It didn't happen. I already have an NES coffee table, which you can see. It's kind of covered up, but it's over here anyways. So I have that one already, so I don't really need the second one. So my thought is to maybe sell it. Let me turn a light on under the stairs. Sell this one, and I can make maybe a Game Boy table that will go here eventually. That's more long-term. I'm not sure when I would get to that. Leave the 2 red chairs in here with the TVs. Some of you were mentioning the TV up here is just really high up, and it is. The whole point of it being that high up was if I were to have poker in here, having a TV that was above most people's heads that you could see. So you could see over everyone while you're kind of playing board games or poker or whatever that we want to play. So that's why it's a little bit higher up. If I move the poker table out of here, it still makes sense to have one of them higher up, and the other 2 are a lot lower. There's just enough room for GameCubes to go on either side. And then I'm going to use the Game Boy adapter and controllers with adapters to Super Nintendo so I can play handheld games on screens in this room, making this a little bit of a handheld space. So what's going to happen to the poker table, I think, because it is supposed to be a Deku tree anyways, and the Zelda wall, as I mentioned, is over here, I think it's going to work out really nicely, putting the table right here in front of the Zelda wall. So we'll have here, obviously, the Deku tree right next to the Zelda wall. Then the Pokeball table, which is here right now, will go back in the other space. It's a lot smaller, and the chairs go underneath it, and it fits really nicely there. And that way the Pokeball table is right next to the Pokewall. So that brings me over here next. You might notice I have Billy bookcases here. A lot of you are asking me, where do I get the bookcases from? These are all locally a lot less expensive when you buy them secondhand. They're called Billy bookcases, and I had to cut some of them down. So I think since last video, 4 of them I cut down, those 2 and these 2 over here. So now they're roughly 77.5 inches, and they just barely fit underneath the lowest headspace in this entire Nintendo room. So that was the goal of cutting them down. Unfortunately, after I cut them down, I did use a piece underneath right here that it's hard to make out, but it's a different color. So I do need to take all these and paint that piece just so that you can't see it. It's all the little things, right, that all add up and make the whole process a lot slower. So I cut those down just using a handsaw, basically, that you plug in. Obviously, that was powered. And just cut along the line. And yes, they are a little bit lower to the ground, so if there is a flood, it's only maybe 2 inches off the ground rather than 3 to 4 inches off the ground. It's okay. It's not great. I really haven't had flooding issues down here since we moved into the house. There was a crack on that wall that we had to have permanently fixed with carbon fiber and stuff like that. Anyways, So we have two Billy bookcases that are the taller version, cut to 77.5 inches, and then you'll notice three of the half-height ones here. However, they didn't fit. It was off by 3/4 of an inch, the smallest of margins. It just didn't fit. So what I ended up doing was I took one of them, I took it apart entirely, and I cut it down. So the one in the middle is now just about 1 inch, 3/4 of an inch smaller than the other two. You won't even notice it on this. So after I cut it down, I realized obviously I have to cut down shelves for it as well, and now it fits into the space, and 5 of them fit in that space really nicely, with the sixth one over here, and I left those all the original heights that they were. I think they're around 41.5 inches tall, 31.5 inches wide, 11-inch depth off the wall. So those are ready to go. What's going to go on those is the Poke-A-Wall. So what I'm going to move, I think I mentioned this last video, this will move entirely over to that space. So all of the Pokemon fit that look really cool, they're called Sitting Cuties. They're basically Beanie Babies for Pokemon. This is all of them from Gen 1 are going to be moved over there, probably on the top 2 shelves. So it'll be like 2, 2, and then 2 in the space, because there's 3 shelves over there. And then on the bottom row, I do have other Sitting Cuties that you can see way over here down there. My goal is, some of those are Gen 2. Actually, they all are. I think there's 19 of them from Gen 2 there. Gen 3 is out, and I want to get just the starters, the 9 starters. So eventually I want to have the 9 starters from every single generation of Pokemon as the Sitting Cuties, and then maybe some other legendaries that I like, or obviously the evolutions, maybe a few others as well. So that's probably what's going to line that entire space. I'm running out of room for all of the handheld Pokemon games. This is just the main series Pokemon games from handheld essentially, and the Switch, but the Switch is kind of a hybrid combo. So if I have a third shelf, I have even more room for games, more room for a little bit of display. I'll probably put 2 or 3 posters up, probably that one and a few others. I do have other Pokemon posters already to put up over in that space. So all of that's going to move over. I'm still wondering what I do with this. I do think this is probably going to be Mario Kart or something like that, hopefully. And then over here, I'm going to get rid of the boxes here, put them into the storage space, which is behind here. This door works as a secret door, but it's not great because it hits the pillar on top. I want to have it swivel into the space behind it, and then fit one more Billy bookcase right there. Right now it fits, but it obviously wouldn't be able to pivot this way at all if there was a shelf here, so having it pivot the other way would work. I do believe I can make this work because I have that little filler piece right there in the middle to kind of allow it to pivot maybe through the doorway. So I'm hoping I can get that done in the next few weeks or so. Put the third Billy bookcase here. This will all be handheld systems. So 3 shelves for handheld systems, Game & Watches, maybe eventually the color TV games that came out for Nintendo way back when, even before the NES. And then a Pokemon wall with all Pokemon games and Pokemon stuff. NES, Super Nintendo, Virtual Boy, as I said previously, the N64 wall will be here, the GameCube wall will be here, along with Wii, Wii U, and Switch, and probably the newer version of the Switch OLED, will be on this side with the Switch lights, I think. I don't like splitting up the Switch, but something has to be split up in this space in order to make it work. So over here, these 3 shelves are going to go. I'm building them back together. 2 of them stack on top of each other. This one goes with this, and they look exactly like these ones right here. So I'm going to take these 2 and the 2 that I'm going to put back together. I am going to put them over there, and those 2 Billy bookcases will come on this side. So it'll almost be a mirror image with 2 taller Billy bookcases here. It'll work out because there's a taller Billy bookcase right over there anyways. So 2 tall ones there, matching kind of the 2 tall ones on that side as well. Kind of for some mirroring, and then these 4 being matched on that side with 4, hopefully looking somewhat symmetrical in the end. Hopefully it looks good. So then on this wall, I'm going to have these shelves empty, probably just for more Zelda stuff. I just have so much Zelda stuff. I do not like the way this is displayed. It's displayed well, you can see everything. It's just overwhelming, too much chaos, almost too much clutter. This is on the verge of hoarding. Obviously, this entire room is on the verge of hoarding. The only difference I always say between hoarding and collecting is organization. And to me, while this is organized, it just looks like a bit of a mess. So probably spread out more of the Zelda games and the guides on these side shelves over here to make my Zelda collection a little bit bigger. Move the Nintendo Power magazines right underneath this Zelda wall so that all the guides for the Zelda magazines as well can be like one more shelf on top of these, I think. Move this one over a little bit. I can gain like 4 or 5 inches on that side. Hopefully that's all ready to go. moving the Nintendo Power magazines gains me roughly 1 foot of floor space to make it more comfortable for the poker table to be here. And that means over here, I could probably just leave this as walking space, but I could also put the Mario Kart if I want. I can move the Mario Kart out of here, put it over there, put the fridge here, and put the arcade there, or just an arcade eventually when I get one right here. So the only other space that I just have to figure out now is this right here. I'm maybe actually thinking Mario Kart, Mario Party, I don't know. If you have suggestions, maybe I could figure out what to do here maybe a little bit better. Maybe the World of Nintendo shelf. All of that collection maybe goes here instead. That could make a lot of sense, and then I could actually walk into that closet and put display stuff in that arcade in that closet or something like that. I'm not sure. There's so much for me to do. I am pretty stoked to get to this, but there's just so much to do and so many little things. Like, for example, I have to, take these down and paint them, just the little bottoms, and then so that I can move those, take everything off the GameCube shelves, put them eventually on the shelves that go here, but in order to do that, I have to put those back together, which means I have to move all the handheld stuff. After I move all the handheld stuff, then I can move like the collection for the Zelda stuff as well, put these back together, move the Nintendo Power magazines, but that means in order to do that, I obviously have to get rid of the stuff over here. So it's good to have these problems. I have a lot on my plate and a lot to do. I think I probably repeated myself a lot from last video. I've just been trying to mull it over my head, get some of these shelves done, focus on work a lot as well, and I haven't been bringing content that often, so it's going to be as best as I can. Maybe it'll be really often because I'm gung-ho and I really want to get this done, especially because a lot of you are asking when's the next room tour, and the room tour, I'm hoping to post it the end of October or early November this year. I think the previous one was too far into December, so this one will definitely be a lot earlier. I'm excited to make content again, and I'm really excited to get back to gaming more often. Summer was great, but finally summer is almost coming to a close, and that almost makes me really sad. But I am excited to maybe, heading into the winter where I live in Canada, it does get really cold, so having this space set up immaculately exactly what my vision will be, I'm really excited for that, and I can't wait to work on it more. If you have any suggestions for the space, please feel free to let me know. If you have any questions also, let me know, and I'll try and get to them as much as I can. Sorry this wasn't the best update in terms of so much happened from last time. It's more of like a mental update of what I'm thinking, and even talking to you guys really helps me think things through. So I appreciate it. I really appreciate you watching as well. Go collect them all. Keep smiling while gaming. You guys are fantastic.